Hello, 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 everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday afternoon. I am Tarina Ali. I am the founder of Tarina Ali Therapeutic Services. And I'm so glad to be on here to talk to you all briefly that something was on my mind. And if you're wondering who I am, I'm a mom, I'm an entrepreneur. Great things literally around the world. And basically, I want to help women move through the emotional pain and move to purpose rather. And so, something that I was thinking about as I went to support a dear sister friend of mine today who got ordained in the Lord's church. And so I'm definitely a part of the faith community, but I love people from all walks of life, and faith is definitely important to me, and I'm definitely a God girl. With all that being said, something that I was just briefly thinking about, and I wanted to pause before I go to my next destination. Some things that I've heard down through the years where I've heard so many other females saying that I don't have sister friend relationships, or I prefer being with guys, or, as having guy friends, or I don't do females. And those things are disturbing to me, and we have to get to the root and the cause of where that comes from. And some thoughts that I just wanted to share with you all, and to briefly help you all unpack some of that. Because as a female, we must pause, and we must understand, and we must know that you gotta have sister relationships. You gotta have other women in your circle. And if you have had problems interacting with other females, then I would definitely encourage you to look at self. We always identify out. That is something that we start talking about in the counseling community. It look a little dark. Look like it's going to rain here where I'm at. But we must not identify out. And basically that means we have to look internally first before pointing the fingers and saying that we cannot interact with other women. And with over a gazillion billion, I know that's not a word, but with a gazillion women in the world, that you cannot find any sister friends to have healthy relationships with, that is less about the women and is definitely more about you. And we have to unpack that and see, where did that come from? And yes, every female that you meet, you're not going to always have a congenial or cordial relationship. But that does not necessarily mean you should rule out every female relationship that you do have. And a lot of times we do not hear our male counterparts saying some of the same things that we say as women. We very rarely hear men say, I can't interact with other men. We very, very rarely hear men. I don't think I've even ever heard that, where men cannot gel with each other. And oftentimes what it boils down to are emotions and feelings when it comes back to women when we have those conversations. And a lot of themes could possibly sever ties in relationships, but you have to think about, who were your first female relationships? And oftentimes they come in your family. They come from your mom, your sisters, your cousins. And so we have to look there. How are your very first relationships with females? You have to look there. Do you have relationships with females who are of your blood of origin? Because that is the first line where we are connected with other females. So what has been your first origin? And yes, of course, we know things are different. And in the world we are today, things definitely have changed. But going historically back, most times women have been in the company of other females first, from their very formative years in life. And what did those bonds look like? Because oftentimes they did not always start out unhealthy. Something happened along the way that jarred and triggered that these negative thoughts come, that I cannot have friends with females. So you have to look at yourself, and you have to look at your emotional wiring and your strings. Are you patient with other people? Because if you're expecting another sister to be exactly like you and to think like you, that's a point of what I would say error in thinking, because that is not possible. And you shouldn't want people in your circle who are clones and who think exactly like you. We should be able to be open to various schools of thought, because this is how we grow. This is how we learn to deal with complexities in our emotions when we have to be stretched. But it all goes back to us, ladies. What is going on with us internally? What is our emotional wiring like? Have we been betrayed? Have we been let down? And that's like you have an issue, or you broke your arm. You're not going to cut off the rest of your body just because your arm broke. So the same thing should not happen when you're talking about developing sister relationships, because you had one, fight or brawl with one female or two, that you're cutting off the entire female race because of that. That's ludicrous. Deal with the root problem, what happened, that your feelings were hurt, that you may have felt betrayed, that you may felt not understood. And yes, every person you meet may not be the person that you're going to vibe with, and that is perfectly okay. But we must have sister relationships, because there are just so many benefits of being around other females who we are wired sometimes alike in our thinking. We also bring different ideologies to different things that we can learn from each other. We bring that level of compassion and sisterhood that is so needed. There are some things that women can relate and connect on just because the mere fact that we are women. And that is just a beautiful, 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 what I think is a beautiful thing. I think that women are just God's gifts to this earth, that without us, of course, no one would definitely be here. So I think there's just so much power. There's just so much community that can come from healthy sister relationships. So I just want you all to think about that today, that for those who you're not saying that you're going to have everyone to be your friend, but you definitely should have some females in your circle that you can talk to on the phone, that you can go to dinner with, that you can go to coffee with, that you can take a road trip with. Those things are very important, and a lot of times we have this blockage up because something that happened that did not go right, and that we've cut off something. But there are just the benefits can come from having a tribe of sister friends. And today I was just elated to show up for my sister friend, and sometimes showing up is half the battle. Sometimes you can talk to your sister because she can understand a certain thing that we can only understand as women. Yes, men can empathize, and we definitely need men in our lives, but there is something that is special, that you can relate with another sister who can empathize, who can understand, because we are women and we just have shared experiences, and that God made us that way to be able to connect. And so I implore you today, ladies, you right here who's about to click off, you're like, I don't want to hear this. Yes, pause before you do. Or catch the replay. And for those who are catching the replay, just hit #replay. So I'd like to know, where you're hearing it from. But before you cut